Okay, so let's begin with the most awaited session.
It's my great pleasure and first and foremost duty on behalf of entire IIIT Bhubaneswar team. We warmly welcome you all to this beautiful program. I assure you that this program shall be filled with excitement and knowledge. Will create some beautiful memories for us all.
We feel honored to have with us Mr. Amish Tripathi, a diplomat and author of 9 books, director of the Nehru Center in London. His books have been translated into 10 Indian and 10 international languages. Forbes India has regularly ranked him among the 100 most influential celebrities in India. Personally, he is one of the few authors who have really moved me in the past few years. Hello, sir.
हाय.
Good
थैंक
afternoon,
यू
sir.
थैंक यू
How are
आयुष.
you?
गुड अंबुज, कैसे हो आप? पंकज भैया कैसे हैं?
Yes, absolutely fine.
चलो.
Adding to what Ayusha just said, Sir has also got a very deep connection with his readers. The reason we have got a lot of registration for this session. So let's begin with our interactive session. Our very first question is, Sir, as we know, writing is a very kind of high risk, high return profession. You were in the financial sector for 14 years and then moved into writing these wonderful books. So during the initial phase of this transition, how did you maintain that balance between passion and realizing the practical or financial side of it? Because end of the day, someone had to pay the bills too.
Good question, Ambuj. And as you know, I come from a middle class family. As I always joke, बाप दादा का आशीर्वाद है, जायदाद कुछ नहीं है. So I had to be practical in all my career choices. And you're right, writing. See, there are some careers which are high risk, high return games, right? So, like if you're a cricketer, or if you're a Bollywood actor, or if you're an author, right? Or if you're a painter. So many people see see only the successes in these fields. What they don't realize is 99% of the people don't even make enough money to pay the bills at the end of the month, right? So unlike say in banking or IT, which are more normal sectors, everyone makes good money, everyone gets good promotions, etc.
Yes, sir.
So these kind of fields, you have to make your career choices a little more smartly, where it's high risk, high return. There is no dishonor in having a job on the side, which is what I did. I wrote my first, I've done in my MBA from IIM Calcutta. I worked for 14 years in banking, and I wrote my first 2 books along with my job. And I resigned from my job only when my royalty check became more than my salary. So it was a very practical, pragmatic decision, which is what I would suggest to all of you. When you go into these high risk, high return games, because यहाँ पे अगर things work out, then you make more money than you ever thought possible. Like a top cricketer makes more money than he or she would have ever thought possible. But the average cricketer finds it very difficult. You know that.
Yes, sir. So we are glad that this transformation from banking to writing happened, due to which we are able to read all your amazing works.
Thank you.
Sir, we have also received a lot of questions regarding what does it actually take to write a book? Is there any such roadmap for aspiring authors?
यार जब मैंने अपनी पहली पुस्तक शुरू की थी मॉडल्स ऑफ मेलुहा, तो आई had written no fiction before that. Okay, so Immortals of Meluha is the first piece of fiction I have ever written. I had written no short stories, nothing in school or college. I always read a lot. I was a voracious reader, but I never, never wrote anything. So actually, I had bought, since I had no idea how to write, I had bought these self-help books, to guide myself on how to write. And like most self-help books, they were completely useless, because I'm sure you'd agree. There is self-help books actually work, then they would stop selling, right? Because then why would you need it anymore? So I think what worked for me is actually just following my instinct while writing. The way I saw it, my aim from writing was to give voice to my soul. अगर किताब चले ना चले वो तो बात की बात है. right? Because I had a job to pay my bills, if I wanted to, and I was working in a bank. I earned good money. So I think what I would advise to most people is write with your heart, write with write as if you don't care about readers or anyone at all. Write for yourself. You can't do your banking job or your IT job like that. You cannot answer your MBA exam papers like that. You can't tell your teacher that I will write what feels right to me, not what is the correct answer, because you will probably fail them and you'll not get a good job. But things which are creative, art, books, movies, do it with your heart. Do what feels right to you. चले ना चले वो बात की बात है. Give voice to your soul. That's the purpose of art.
So the key is being honest, being practical, especially while marketing, and there is no dishonor in having a backup job too, like sir did.
Yeah.
So now I would request Mr. Vittal Gupta, who is also the head of IIIT Bhubaneswar team, to come up with the next question.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Vital. How are you?
I'm a very great fan of your books. I'm reading your books since class 10. So, my question to you is from childhood, we grew up watching Ramayana in our televisions, and there was also a television series called Devakude Mahadev.
Hmm.
So, in our mind, the image of God was someone who is above all the worldly things. So, my question is, where did you get the inspiration to portray God as a person who is bound by physical laws? And also, do you think our ancient texts might somewhat be exaggerated versions of some story?
I'd love to say that I came up with this concept, but that would not be true. I know that would make me sound very cool, that I came up with this concept, but actually it's not true. In our ancient tradition, you have to understand one of the things, that our way of life, the Indian way of life, is the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive. Pre-Bronze Age, matlab minimum 5,000 years old, before 3000 BCE, right? There were many cultures which started civilization before 3000 BCE in the Bronze Age. Pharaonic Egypt, Mesopotamian, then early Mycenaean, which evolved into Hellenic Greek. Are any of these cultures alive today? Do the modern Greeks follow Zeus, or do the modern Egyptians follow Ra? They don't.
No, sir.
None of them do. Because all these cultures are essentially museum pieces now. Right? We are the only pre-Bronze Age culture, the ancient pagan way, which is still alive. Now, the ancient pagan way was a life of wisdom. What the religions that have emerged in the last 2000 years, largely from Israel and the Arab world, they are a religion of faith, right? So they are religions of faith. Our religions and all the other ancient religions were religions of wisdom, right? uh, in religion of faith, you cannot question God. For example, there's a concept of blasphemy. Na, it's supposed to be the
Yes,
most
sir.
horrible crime. And many countries in the Middle East, for blasphemy, you will be killed. I mean, you're legally supposed to be killed. The law, the state will kill you.
Yes, sir.
In India, in Vedic Sanskrit, our ancient culture, there was no concept of blasphemy. They had no word for it. In Vedic Sanskrit, there's no word for blasphemy, because nothing was beyond questioning. So if there's the path of wisdom and faith is not important, they were open to many different interpretations of what the divine is, right? They didn't just say that divine means one male god who's very jealous for some reason and will burn you all in hell if you worship another god or worship a goddess. That to me sounds very childish, frankly. If
Yes.
you're God, then why are you so jealous? I mean, grow up, right?
Yes.
Uh, but in the Indian way, because there was no concept of blasphemy, and it is the only ancient way, the path of wisdom, that has still survived, they were open to different concepts of divine, right? So we are the only ancient goddess worshipping culture that is still alive, right? Pharaonic Egypt, Mesopotamia, these are all also goddess worshipping cultures, but they're dead, right? We are still alive. We are the only ones who don't have a problem with many gods. You find the god who works for you. For me, the god I worship is Lord Shiva. For you, it could be Lord Ram. For someone else, it could be Lord Brahma. For someone else, it could be Devi Ma. No problem. You know, our gods will not get jealous that, oh, you have to worship only me and you have to kill someone who's worshipping another god. That's childish, right? Also, our way had no problem with the atheism. You know, the dharmic religions, which is essentially Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, can be divided, depending on how you count it, can be divided into 12 or 13 schools of philosophy. Some of these schools of philosophy are atheist. They don't believe in a creator god. Sankhya, Mimamsa, okay? They don't believe in a creator god. Again, in our ancient way and even our modern way, I had no problem with it. You don't want to believe in a god, your choice. Because our religion is not a religion about faith. It's a religion about wisdom, right? So in this way, there was also an openness to the concept that actually the divine is within us. That the God is not someone who lives in the sky or in some universe somewhere. God is someone who lives in every single one of us. And not just in all of us human beings, even in the plants, the animals, nature. So for us, in our ancient way, we naturally respect animals as well, which is why so many of us choose to be vegetarian. Right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You know what the word namaste means? What is it means hello,
Ha.
but what is the Sanskrit root of namaste? Do you know?
No, sir. No,
Sir,
sir.
is it the God in me bows to the God in you?
Hmm. Who said that?
Sir, Atrik.
Atrik, everyone please applaud for Atrik. He's right. Okay.
Thank you.
Namaste in Sanskrit actually means that the divine in me bows to the divine within you. Right. So by saying namaste, we are actually recognizing that the divine is within you. It automatically engenders respect. That's why you do namaste politely, like this, with your head bowed. Right. So therefore, we saw the divine in all human beings. Now, this concept was there from ancient times. I'd love to take credit for it, but I cannot. It's a very ancient concept. I've just written it in a modern way. That's all.
So, also, do you think any exaggeration is there in all the Valmiki Ramayana, or because God, they have depicted God as someone who can create matter from nothing and something like that?
Actually, the Valmiki Ramayana very clearly sees Lord Ram as a human being. Remember the boon that Ravan had asked from Lord Brahma, that only human beings could kill him because he thought humans would not be powerful enough. So the Valmiki Ramayana is very clear, very clearly defines Lord Ram as a human being, right? As a god who has become a human being, which is in a way what all of us are actually.
Yes,
The
sir.
Ramcharitmanas, which was written in the 16th century, is very clear. It sees Lord Ram as God. Ramcharitmanas, original is Valmiki Ramayana, which was 2,500-3,000 years old, perhaps. Right? It was written. Events would have occurred obviously a lot earlier, but it was probably written 2,500-3,000 years ago. So, you know, even this, like I said, there are various interpretations that emerge, and therefore things get added. But do I believe that there was a real story of the Ramayana, of the Mahabharata, of our Puranas, which got interpreted to mean, many of our, modern, what are called mythological tales? Yes. So I do believe that Lord Ram existed. I do believe that Lord Shiva existed. I do believe that Sita Devi existed. Um, I don't have proof of it, but I'm not trying to force that belief on you. If you don't want to believe it, don't believe it. I believe it.
Thank you, sir, for answering my question, sir.
Thank you, sir, for answering that. With that, we move towards the next question. I would like to request Prithviraj to ask the next one.
Hello, sir. This is
Hi,
Prithviraj.
Prithviraj.
Sir, I would like to move a little bit far from the philosophical side of your books and a little bit to the practical side, like
Okay.
to the publishing industry. Means you have to deal with, you write the book, then you have to deal with the editors and the other people, the publishing house and all. And what is the process goes in, and you also have to like make changes to your script to making some of the ideas demanded by the editors. Would you like to share some aspect of
Yeah.
it?
So the publishing industry is a very tiny industry in India. That's a reality. It is also an industry which was in many ways too anglicized, very British inspired.
Yes, sir.
Uh, but it is slowly becoming more and more Indian. Um, Indian in their culture. Now, do editors give feedback that that you should do this, you should do that? Yes, I mean, of course, that's their job. There are some authors who surrender to it. I am a very stubborn author. I will do what I think is right. So if I disagree with what the editor is saying makes sense to me, of course I'm willing to listen. Right? There's feedback I get from readers as well. If it makes sense to me, I'll try and incorporate in my next book. If it doesn't make sense to me, I don't care if a million people are saying it. I will not make the change because it's my book.
Yes, sir.
I have to be true to my soul. The purpose of a book, is because there is a purpose it serves in the life of an author. At least that's what I believe. It's not. I know this might sound a little. I am a bit of a loner in any case. I mean, Ambuja's father, Pankaj Bhaiya, knows that. I don't really party much. I don't socialize much. And for me, the books and most authors tend to be this way. Books are our outlet. So it's like a part of our soul. If you're going to compromise on your soul, then क्या फायदा boss? Then banker ही बन जाओ ना. If your
Yes,
purpose
sir.
is to make right, then banker ही बन जाओ. क्या बुरा है? और अच्छा पैसा है banking में.
Huh.
And you're not a thief. You're not doing anything illegal. But if it's writing, then you need to be true to your soul. और किताब नहीं चले तो नहीं चले यार, कोई नहीं. Okay. Creativity is something different. Creativity you do for your soul. You don't do it to earn money. Paisa aa gaya, then it's a positive bonus. But that's not the purpose. So I am very clear. If I am not convinced, I don't care how much the editor says, I will not change. I will do what I think is right.
Yes, sir. So you sound like a protagonist of a Ayn Rand book or something like that. Means steadfast in his
Okay.
ambition and goals.
Howard Roark.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
look, I mean, Ayn Rand can at times be a little extremist.
Yes, sir,
I was
for
very
young
into Ayn
people,
Rand
sir.
as well at your age. Let me clarify that. At your age, Prithviraj, I was also very inspired by Ayn Rand. But then one also grew up. By the time I reached 30, I realized Ayn Rand is a little too extremist.
Yes, sir.
Right? You have to work with others as well. So for my book, while writing the book, I might be as obsessive as this. But when I'm marketing my book, I have to, of course, work along with
Make
everyone.
changes and
Yeah,
compromise.
but marketing, not in the book itself. Book
Sir,
के
to
copy
your- yes.
change नहीं होगा. But
Yes.
marketing, like there are some authors who will say, no, I'm not going to do any events. I'm not going to do any interviews because I'm a pure person. I don't want to interact with all. This is nonsense. In my view, it is your job to work hard to earn money for your publisher. Why should your publisher make losses for you as an author to remain pure? So the point I'm trying to make is some balance. And one of the things our ancestors said is Ati Sarvatra Varjait. I've written it in one of my books that extremism of any kind should be avoided. Right? So there are some parts of my life which are close to my soul, my writing, my child. You'll never notice a picture of my child in any social media, in any media. I keep them up.
Yes, sir.
I don't even put a picture from the back or like some celebrities do. I do not want the media looking at my child. Right? Then when he grows up, when he's 18, then it's his choice. Only family members can see. My books are very, very close to my soul. So I keep these things pure. But there are other parts where I have to be practical. If I'm doing marketing for my books, if I'm making a documentary, I have to be practical. So essentially a combination of both. And Preeti, one of the things I've learned in life is avoid extremism of any kind. Have balance in everything.
Yes, sir. That is the means motto
Like
of success in
non-violence,
life.
like non-violence is good. I agree with Mahatma Gandhi that all of us individuals, citizens, we should be non-violent. But non-violent under any circumstances, no. Why? If there are five of us men going and a woman is being attacked on the road by some good for nothing men, what should we do? Should we not? Should we just नहीं हम तो non-violent हैं, हम बैठे रहेंगे? Or should we go and thrash those men? Right? This is what men should do.
Yes, sir.
Right? Or if there's a soldier on the border, and say our Indian soldier or a Pakistani soldier, or more likely a Pakistani terrorist comes to the border. should a soldier put his gun down and read, the Rig Veda or Brihadaranyaka and Upanishad to the terrorist and try and reform him, or should he pick up his gun and shoot the guy?
Yeah,
And
that
that's
doesn't seem really practical now.
so again, so the point I'm trying to make is there's a context that all of us individuals, normal citizens, we have no right to take the law into our own hands. So for example, even when we are protesting about something, no right to take the law into our own hands. But if we are a soldier on the border, it's our job, it's our dharma to carry out violence. So any form of extremism on any side, non-violence or violence, is bad. Even on the Ayn Rand philosophy, that you should have your individualism, but at times you have to work with others as well. Again,
Yes.
balance.
Thanks.
Balance, the divine is in balance.
Thanks for answering, sir.
Thanks, Ruhi.
Thanks for answering, sir. We have also opened the online chat box portal so that you all can directly ask me your questions. Adarsh has posted a question in the chat. So, Adarsh, can you please ask your question?
Hello, sir.
Hi, Adarsh.
Hello, sir. Sir, I would like to ask, how do you handle criticism? I think we won't find your name in any big controversies, but
Ah,
there are some positive criticism.
you
So,
know,
can you share any such incident
okay, there
where
are two
you have
separate
been
things.
criticized?
One is how I avoid controversy. One of the things I've learned, and this comes from the Natya Shastra, one of our great ancestral texts, which says Satyam Bruat Priyam Bruat Na Bruat Satyam Apriyam, which is speak the truth but speak it with love. And if you cannot speak the truth with love, then remain silent. Okay. Uh, you behave this way, you find you'll actually controversies hote hi nahi hai. Okay, so I never lie. I will say what I have in my mind. But if I think, I cannot say something politely or with love, then I just keep quiet. You'll notice you don't see me on TV panel discussions. Outside of my book launch times, I stay away from the media. I don't talk to the media at all. I don't comment on every subject under the sun. That doesn't mean I don't have views on them. But why should I comment on every subject under the sun? I was invited once by a TV channel when Donald Trump was the president in the US. And the debate was, that we are debating that he's not my president. I'm like, what do I have to do with it? मुझे क्या बोलना है इसमें? Okay. And you'll find people who come on TV. One day they are speaking on India's defense strategy. Second day they are speaking on America's economic strategy. Third day they are speaking on India's vaccination strategy. साहब आप कितना जानते हो यार हर किसी चीज पे टिप्पणी कर रहे हो. Okay. If you actually don't, what's the need to comment on everything under the sun? Then controversies नहीं होते.
Very right, sir.
Sir, and what about
A similar question.
criticism?
Sorry.
Criticism, look, the way I see it, so it's not that people don't criticize me. But I've been lucky in a sense that even critics would have said that. I mean, they would say that my books are they speak of philosophies, they are connected to our roots, so those are positive. But there are some who say ki bhai, the language is very simple. It's not like how say the literary Latins Delhi people write. But I'm like, this is my language. And my thing, the way to approach critics is take it as an opportunity.
Yes.
If you listen with an open mind, if there's something to learn, then learn from it. If there's nothing to learn, then ignore it. उनसे respond करने का क्या फायदा है?
But sometimes,
उनसे
sir, it is very difficult to ignore. It becomes difficult to ignore at times.
Have you read this poem called "The Man in the Arena,"
No, sir.
written by Roosevelt? I think Roosevelt. Read the book. Read the poem, and it is about the only one who has true grit is the man in the arena who fights, who falls down, who gets injured, then who gets up and fights once again. It's not the critic standing on the side saying, "Arey, you should fight like that. You should fight like this. अरे तुझे इतना मालूम है तो खुद आके लड़ना यहाँ." Okay. But
Right.
say you're a tennis player in the arena and you're playing a match, and while the ball is coming, there are 20,000 critics saying, टेनिस का ये क्यों दे रहा हूँ, से विराट कोहली और सचिन तेंदुलकर, and in मारना था, वो इतना कंफ्यूज हो जाएंगे कि they'll not be able to do their job. So, why waste your time on that? See, and the thing is कि will
Thank you,
people
sir.
be
Thank you,
to
sir.
you and say
Yes,
things
sir.
which can hurt you? Of course, that's the nature of life. It's up to you whether you allow them to hurt you. And प्लेयर का क्रिटिक से लड़ने का कुछ फायदा नहीं है. It is a waste of time. And my suggestion to you, do
Yes,
not
sir.
be a critic. Because critic कुछ अचीव तो करता है नहीं. Don't be. All of us are also, we love to be critics to others. Correct, no? Everyone has a view on, on our cricketers. Everyone has a view on our politicians. Bhai, if you have a view, then
Everything.
act. Go vote in the election. But drawing room में बैठ के कोई भी बहुत कुछ बोल सकता है. Correct. Focus on actions, your own actions. Okay.
Yes.
Ambuj, ये
A similar question was asked by Trikrit.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next one.
Yes, sir. Sure. So Padmakshi has posted a question in the chat box. Padmakshi, can you please ask your question?
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Padmakshi.
Hi, Padmakshi.
Hello, sir. Actually, my question is, after your historical fiction, Legend of Suhaildev, most of us are now aware of how inspiring and uniting a leader he was. But prior to this, we didn't know him at all. We don't know the achievements of a lot of our ancestors. Do you think there is some fault in our education system?
100%. I have raised this often. The problem with our education system is after the British left, we didn't change it.
Yes.
The entire purpose of our education system is पढ़ा लिखा के किसी तरह बच्चे को अंग्रेज बना दो बस. Okay. Simple things like, when I was in school, I was taught about seasons in India. Okay, tell me, what were you taught about seasons in India? How many seasons are there?
There are four seasons. We are taught that there are 4 seasons.
And
Yes.
we were,
No monsoon. No
I was
monsoon.
taught the same thing. My 12-year-old son is taught the same thing. In the second standard, I was told summer, autumn, winter, spring. And me being a Shiv Bhakt, we are naturally rebellious people. I raised my hand and I said, Mom, ma'am, monsoon kahan gaya? Correct? India actually has 6 seasons. Okay, Europe has 4 seasons. Something basic like this also, हम लोग साले अंग्रेज के अभी तक दबे हुए. Okay. In everything. In medicine, we don't teach about Shushrucharak. We teach Hippocrates. In maths, I don't know how many of you are maths graduates. I was a maths BSc graduate. We don't learn about Bodhayana or Aryabhatta. We learn about Pythagoras. Bodhayana discovered Pythagoras' theorem before Pythagoras did. And the same thing is there in our history as well. The history that is taught to us is the history of our invaders, not the history of our ancestors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
We learn the history of those who invaded us. We learn the history of the British. We learn the history of what we call the Delhi Sultans. They didn't call themselves the Delhi Sultans.
No, we have read a whole chapter on Mughal, but we didn't read a chapter on Ramayana or anything ever.
Exactly.
Yeah, we will learn on the Mughals. But the Mughals didn't call themselves Mughals. We call them Mughal. The Mughals in all their text, Aini Akbari, Alamgiri, they call themselves Temurid. Okay. Which means descendant of Temur. They didn't call themselves Mughal. Okay, Temur was a Turk in the 13th century. Despite what Bollywood films tell you, okay, Akbar did not look like Hrithik Roshan or Prithviraj Kapoor. Alauddin Khilji did not look like Ranveer Singh. They did not look Indian. To us, they would have looked Chinese. They would look like Xi Jinping. Because they were from Central Asia. They were Turks. Okay, they did not speak Urdu. Urdu is our language.
They are not Indian Muslims.
They weren't. They would have spoken Turkic. They would have spoken Persian. You wouldn't have understood a word of what they were saying. Okay. And they weren't Indian Muslims. Indian Muslims are descendants of Indian Hindus or Indian Buddhists. They were foreigners. They called themselves foreigners. They were very clear. Babar said very clearly, I do not want to be buried in this dirty country of India, which was the richest land on earth at that time. He wanted to go back to his own homeland, Fargana, his body. But we learn the story only of these guys. And we don't learn the answer to the obvious question. that if our ancestors kept losing every battle apparently for the last 1,000 years, how come we are still alive? How come we are the only pre-Bronze Age culture that is still alive? Zoroastrian Persia, when the Arabs attacked, they lasted for 17 years. That's it. 17 years, they were all wiped out. The only place Zoroastrianism is alive is in India because we gave them refuge. Pharaonic Egypt, where is it? Wiped out. And they were all wiped out violently. They were attacked by the same people who attacked us. Okay. Where is Hellenic Greek? All of them are dead. We are still here. Why? Because there were some battles that we lost, but there are many battles that we won as well. And most importantly, unlike the ancient Zoroastrian Persians, unlike the ancient Hellenic Greeks, unlike the ancient Pharaonic Egyptians, unlike the ancient Canaanite Syrians, unlike all of them, unlike the ancient Central Americans, unlike all of them, our ancestors never surrendered. They kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. They never surrendered, which is why we are still alive. So the last 1,000 years, in my mind, the last 1,000 years of history is not the story of repeated defeat to invasions. It is actually the story of heroic resistance. Heroic resistance. Because our ancestors never surrendered. They kept fighting. And ek ke baad ek, Raja Suheldev, then the Palas, then the Chauhans, and then the Rayas from south, then the Marathas, from all across India, they kept, the Jats, the Sikhs, they kept fighting. We should learn this, no? So actually our approach to our history should not be a sense of defeatism. कि यार हमारे पूर्वज तो हारते रहे. It should be a sense of immense pride.
Yes.
बाकी सब ancient cultures में सिर्फ हम एक खड़े हैं. सिर्फ हम, क्योंकि हम लोग लड़ते रहे, हार कभी नहीं मानी. So it should be a story of immense pride. That's what should be taught in our history. But we are still taught the history taught by the British, written by the British, who were obviously invaders. लानत है हम पे. But you guys should put pressure and change this now. I keep writing articles on this.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering my question.
I hope this will change.
I hope so too. But
we in Maharashtra are not taught about.
I should clarify one thing. One of the problems in the modern days, from one extreme, you should not swing to the other extreme. There are people who equate what Aurangzeb or Alauddin Khilji did with Indian Muslims. That is completely wrong. Okay. We don't equate what the British did with Indian Christians because we are very clear they are two different people. Indian Christians are ours. British were foreigners. They were barbarians. And similarly with the Mughals and the Delhi Sultans, they were foreigners. But we must be very, very clear on that. We must not divide modern India.
Sir.
Okay, Ambuj, last question.
Maharashtra was not taught about Bajirao. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right?
We'll just take one last question. Ipsita has posted a question in the chat box. So Ipsita, can you ask your question?
Hello, sir.
Hi, Ipsita.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Sir, you've always been one of my favorite authors. So who is your favorite author or the one who influences you the most?
I always say if you have only one favorite author, then you haven't read enough. You should have many. So it'll be difficult for me to give an answer for one author. But normally how I answer this question is from the books that I've read in the recent past. Which one have I liked? And I read what was actually a rather old book, a book called Empire by Niall Ferguson. He's a historian, a brilliant guy. I tend to read more non-fiction. 90% of my reading is non-fiction. I read 5 to 6 books per month. Been reading at that pace for decades. But it's largely non-fiction. And so Empire was actually on how the British built and then lost their empire. And fascinating book, and especially for us Indians, gives a very good insight into why we actually got independence. It was a lot more complicated than what we know.
Okay,
so
that's
check that out. Empire, Niall Ferguson.
Thank you, sir. I love to try it.
Thank you, Ipsita.
We also read scientific papers. The Somras theory in Secret of Nagas and Immortals of Milwa is from a scientific paper.
You're right, Ambuj.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for answering that question. I would just keep going on, but I don't think it's fair to just keep you in there. So we would just conclude this session. Aisha.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and taking some time out of your busy schedule and inspiring us with your words of wisdom. Also, we would like to thank the entire ESL Bhubaneswar, IIIT Bhubaneswar team for the hard work and dedication behind the successful completion of this event. Kudos to you guys.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And share.
With this, we finally come to an end of our very first episode of Gods and Stars with Amish Tripathi in our engaging talk series E-Talks. We appreciate your time and patience. Stay tuned with us for our upcoming episodes of Stories and Extraordinary Journeys.
Like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Stay connected with us on all social media handles. We will be mentioning them in description below. Signing off today's session with our speaker, Mr. Amish Tripathi, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you.